My name is Daniel Reeves. For 10 years, I served my country as an operations officer for the Central Intelligence Agency. My job was simple, at least on paper: gather intelligence, keep good men alive, and protect the truth. But in this world, truth is the first casualty of silence. The room they locked me in that day smelled of steel and disinfectant, like a hospital for broken loyalties. The lights were too bright. The walls too white. I could see my reflection in the glass, unshaved, eyes sunken, uniform torn. Across from me sat Director Cole, the man I once called mentor. He didn't look at me like a colleague anymore. He looked at me like a traitor. "You sold us out, Daniel," he said. "You cost us 6 men and a Black Hawk. You're done." His words didn't hit me, they crushed me. Because I wasn't just being accused of failure. I was being accused of betrayal, of turning my back on everything I swore to protect. But I knew the truth. And the truth was locked inside a black box, the only surviving evidence from that night over Kandahar. That mission. I still hear it when I close my eyes. We were a 5-man recon team inserted at 247. Our target was a compound that allegedly hosted a warlord tied to illegal arms trafficking. But something felt off from the start. Our satellite feed went dark halfway through insertion. Comms dropped. It was like someone had flipped a switch, like we'd been led into a trap. Then the first explosion hit. We never saw where it came from. I remember the flash, the roar, the ground lifting beneath me. Then screams, gunfire, static. When I woke up, the sky was orange. 3 of my men were gone. And our extraction bird, the one that was supposed to pull us out, never showed. I tried to call HQ. Nothing. Tried the secondary channel. Static. We were ghosts in friendly territory. Back in Langley, they told a different story. They said I'd transmitted coordinates to the wrong frequency. That my signal compromised the mission. That I was the leak. I laughed at first, because it sounded insane. Until I saw the eyes of the people I trusted most, cold, distant, afraid to even talk to me. They suspended me. Then they interrogated me. Then they erased me. "You don't exist, Daniel," said the man from Internal Affairs. "You'll stay quiet until we decide what to do with you." I realized something that day. The agency doesn't bury bodies. It buries names. They kept me in that room for 72 hours. No sleep. No contact. Just a camera blinking red above my head. Every few hours, someone would come in, ask the same questions in a different tone. "Where were you? Who did you talk to? Did you receive foreign contact?" The more I denied it, the guiltier I looked. Because in this place, silence sounds like confession. The only thing that kept me sane was the thought of that black box, the flight recorder from the bird that never came back. If anyone bothered to check it, they'd know what really happened. But no one wanted the truth. They wanted closure. They wanted someone to blame. On the 3rd night, I stopped answering their questions. I just stared at the mirrored glass, knowing someone was watching. And I said it aloud, not to them, but to whoever was listening behind that wall. "If I really betrayed my country, why haven't you shown the evidence?" The silence that followed was the loudest sound I've ever heard. When they finally released me, it wasn't freedom. It was exile. They revoked my clearance. Took my passport. My apartment in D.C. was already packed up, like I'd never existed. I went back to Virginia to a small cabin near Quantico. I drank. I stared at my service medal, wondering if loyalty was just another word for obedience. Every night I replayed that mission in my head, the flashes, the smoke, the voices on the comms before everything went dark. Something didn't fit. And then one night I got an encrypted email from an unknown source. No message, no subject line. Just one attachment. A data file labeled Flight Recorder #KX17. My hands were shaking. It couldn't be. The black box. I plugged it into my old agency laptop. At first it was just static and corrupted logs. But after a few minutes the screen flickered, and I heard a voice I knew too well. "Command, this is Falcon 1. Coordinates received. Confirming green light on new frequency. Wait, repeat that. Who authorized this channel?" It wasn't me. It was my superior, the same man who accused me. The same man who signed my dismissal. My blood ran cold. The black box hadn't just recorded the mission. It had recorded the real betrayal. And if the right people heard it, it could bring down everything. They thought they buried me. But all they did was plant a seed. And now, the truth, their truth, is about to burn its way to the surface. The rain hadn't stopped in 2 days. It tapped against the cabin windows like a clock, reminding me that time was running out. I hadn't slept. Not really. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that email, that encrypted file, that voice from the past. "Command, this is Falcon 1. Confirming green light on new frequency. Who authorized this channel? That one line changed everything. Because it proved what I'd been saying for months. I wasn't the leak. Someone higher up rerouted our comms and 6 men died because of it. Then they pinned it on me. Now I had the proof. But proof means nothing when the truth threatens the wrong people. At 3:14 a.m. my phone buzzed. No number. Just a message. They know you have it. Leave now. I froze. Only 3 people in the world should have known I was even alive, and 2 of them were buried in Kandahar. I looked out the window. A car was parked at the end of the dirt road, lights off, engine silent. I could see the faint orange glow of a cigarette. They'd found me. I packed the drive into a waterproof case, grabbed my duffel and slipped out through the back door. The woods were black, only the sound of rain and my own heartbeat. I kept low, moving toward the creek that ran behind the property. That's when I heard it, the crack of a branch, the whisper of boots in the mud. They weren't amateurs. They moved in sync, 3 maybe 4 of them, fanning out in silence. I slid into the freezing water, holding my breath as flashlights cut across the trees. Voices echoed, distant but sharp. He's gone toward the ridge. Check the stream. Copy that. The director wants him alive. Alive. That word hit harder than a bullet. Because if they wanted me alive, it wasn't for mercy. It was for control. I waited until the voices faded, then climbed out near the old service road. I had one advantage. I'd been trained by the same people hunting me. My car was gone. But I'd buried a secondary phone in a toolbox under the porch weeks ago, just in case. I dug it up, wiped the mud off and powered it on. No SIM, just Wi-Fi. Enough to reach one person. Her name was Evelyn Shaw. We'd served together years ago. She was an analyst, the best I'd ever known. We hadn't spoken since my suspension. Back then she didn't believe me either. But if anyone could decrypt that file and trace its origin, it was her. I typed. Eve, it's Reeves. I have the KX-17 recorder. They know. I need your help. The typing bubble appeared. Then vanished. Then appeared again. Where are you? I hesitated. Then sent coordinates. Don't move. I'm coming. For the first time in months I exhaled. Maybe I wasn't alone after all. 3 hours later, a dark SUV rolled up the road. When the headlights cut through the fog I saw her, hair tied back, glasses fogged from the rain. Still the same Evelyn. Still cautious but brave enough to show up. She got out, eyes scanning the woods. You look like hell, she said. You should see the other guys, I replied, half smiling. We didn't waste time. Inside the cabin I showed her the file, the corrupted audio, the missing segments. She plugged in her laptop, fingers flying. This isn't just flight data, she whispered. There are encrypted voice overlays. Someone tampered with this before it was archived. You can recover it? Maybe. But if I can, they'll know. They already do, I said. They're out there. Minutes turned into hours. The rain stopped. The tension didn't. Evelyn isolated the damaged frequencies and started piecing them together. Then suddenly the screen flashed red, accessing secure link, remote attempt detected. Someone was trying to break in. They're inside the network, she yelled. Cut the connection. She ripped the cable out, heart pounding. The laptop still flickered. Then across the screen one message appeared. You were never supposed to find this. Then the screen went black. We stared in silence. The only sound was the storm starting again outside. Eve, I said quietly, you need to leave. They'll come for you next. She shook her head. You think they'll stop if I walk away? They buried you, Daniel. They'll do the same to anyone who knows the truth. Her voice broke slightly. Let me help you. Please. I wanted to argue. But I knew she was right. And for the first time since that mission I felt something unfamiliar. Hope. We rerouted the file through an offline decryptor. Lines of code began unraveling until a fragment of audio emerged, clean, sharp, undeniable. Command override, new target confirmed. Director Cole authorizing change of objective. Proceed with elimination. I froze. That voice. It was him. The man who'd called me a traitor. The man who'd destroyed my name. He'd ordered the hit himself. Evelyn covered her mouth, whispering, My God. Daniel, this could bring down the entire directorate. No, I said quietly. It'll do more than that. I looked out the window. The same car was back at the end of the road. Only this time the headlights were on. They wanted to erase me once. Now they'll have to silence me again. But not before the world knows what really happened that night over Kandahar. The headlights burned through the fog like 2 white knives. Evelyn froze at the window, I reached for the pistol under my jacket. Rain hissed on the metal roof, steady, cold, merciless. "They're here," I whispered. The SUV idled at the end of the drive, doors opening, silhouettes stepping into the rain. 3, maybe 4 men, silent, professional, rifles angled low. The directorate's cleanup team. I killed the cabin lights. "Grab the drive," I told her. "We move now." We slipped out the back, down the muddy path behind the barn. The wind carried the sound of engines, another vehicle approaching from the ridge. They were surrounding us. I led Evelyn toward the creek where the water still ran high from the storm. We slid down the embankment and into the freezing current. "Keep your head down," I said. "Follow the flow. They'll use thermal, don't give them heat." Branches snapped above us. Beams of light danced through the trees. I counted the steps, the patterns. Tactical, rhythmic. Same training I'd once given recruits. When the gunfire started, it was short and controlled. They weren't shooting to kill. They were shooting to hurt. We reached the culvert at the far end of the property, an old drainage tunnel that cut beneath the highway. I pushed Evelyn inside first. "Daniel, go." The tunnel smelled of rust and rainwater. My knees scraped concrete as I crawled behind her. We emerged into a drainage ditch beside the main road. A rusted truck sat abandoned a few hundred yards away. The keys were still in the ignition. Sometimes luck is just fear wearing a different face. We drove with the lights off for miles, following back roads through the forest. Evelyn's hands trembled around the flash drive. "They'll track us," she said. "They already are," I replied. "We just have to stay one step ahead." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere they can't reach us, yet." I turned onto a service route leading to an old airfield, decommissioned, forgotten. I knew a man there. Everyone in this line of work has that one favor they never wanted to cash in. Frank Delaney, former logistics officer. Retired after 25 years. He owed me his life from a mission in Istanbul. The hangar lights flickered as we pulled in. Frank stepped out from behind a desk, a cigarette glowing between his fingers. "Jesus, Reeves," he muttered. "I thought you were dead." "You're not the first to say that." I tossed him the flash drive. "Need this backed up." "Offline. Multiple copies." He glanced at Evelyn, then at the bruises on my face. "You stirred something ugly, didn't you?" "Ugly's been stirring for a long time," I said. "It's just finally showing its face." While Frank worked, Evelyn pulled up a map on her tablet. "The directorate has an emergency conference in 2 days. The deputy director will be there." "Meaning?" "If we can drop this evidence during the briefing, it goes straight to the oversight committee. They can't bury it." It was a long shot. But long shots are the only kind we ever get. By dawn, Frank had 3 encrypted drives ready. He handed me one, gave Evelyn another, and hid the third inside a hollow wing panel of an old training jet. "They come asking questions," he said. "I'll tell 'em I never saw you." "Thanks, Frank." "Don't thank me. Just finish it." We left before sunrise. Halfway down the highway, a drone appeared in the rearview mirror, small, silent, tailing us at a distance. "They found us," Evelyn said. I swerved under a bridge. The signal disappeared. "They're not just following the car," I said. "They're tracking the file's encryption handshake. Every time we open it, it pings their network." "So what do?" "We stop opening it." We reached the outskirts of Baltimore before noon. I parked behind an abandoned motel. "Eve, listen," I said. "They'll come after me, not you. If it gets bad." "Don't you dare finish that sentence," she snapped. "Someone has to live long enough to tell the story. Then make sure it's both of us." For a moment, the world slowed, rain dripping from the awning, the hum of distant traffic. It felt almost normal. Almost. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. One line of text. "We can help you expose him. Meet alone. Pier 47 midnight." No signature. Trap. Evelyn asked. "Definitely. So we don't go?" "No," I said, loading a magazine. "We go prepared. I used to believe loyalty was simple, that you follow orders, protect the flag, and the rest takes care of itself. But the flag doesn't bleed. People do. And when the people in power start choosing who's worth saving, that's when loyalty turns into chains." The water under the pier moved like dark glass, black and restless. Wind whipped salt against my face as I stepped from the car. Midnight. Empty docks. Just gulls and ghosts. Evelyn waited in the shadows, a hood pulled low. "You shouldn't be here," I said. "And let you walk into a setup alone? Not a chance." I didn't argue. The sea smelled of diesel and secrets. We walked toward the far end where an old freighter sat half sunken. A single bulb swung above a metal door, throwing slices of light across the wet boards. Then a voice came through the dark. "Agent Reeves, you're harder to find than the truth these days." A man stepped forward, gray coat, calm eyes. No weapon visible, which meant he had at least two hidden. "Who are you?" "Someone who doesn't enjoy watching good men disappear. Call me Harris." He held up a small device. "You're carrying a file that can end careers, or start wars. Hand it to me and I'll make sure it reaches the Oversight Committee intact." I laughed once, bitter. "That's the same line they used before they burned my life down." Evelyn whispered. "Daniel, we can't trust him." "She's right," Harris said. "But you also can't run forever." Behind him, engines rumbled, two SUVs rolling onto the dock. Headlights exploded in white light. Men stepped out, rifles drawn. "You led them here?" I said. "No," Harris replied. "They traced you. They were always coming." Gunfire shattered the night. I pulled Evelyn behind a crate, splinters flying around us. Rounds ripped through the wooden planks. Harris dove for cover, shouting something into his radio. "There's a service tunnel under the pier," he yelled. "Go." Evelyn looked at me, waiting. I didn't know if I could trust him, but I knew we were out of time. We ran. Bullets punched holes through the walkway. The air smelled of gunpowder and salt. We reached the hatch at the pier's end, rusted but still solid. I kicked it open. We dropped into darkness. The tunnel was narrow, ankle-deep in freezing water. Our footsteps echoed like a heartbeat. "Daniel," she said, breathless, "how do we end this?" "By showing them everything they tried to hide." Behind us, the sound of boots grew louder. I fired 3 rounds down the corridor, sparks, shouting, silence. We climbed a maintenance ladder and burst out onto a street 2 blocks from the harbor. Rain again. Always rain. We ducked into an alley. Evelyn pressed her back to the wall, gasping. "They'll kill us before morning." "Then we finish before morning," I said. I pulled the second drive from my jacket, the backup Frank had made. Still dry. Still intact. "There's a transmitter at the Federal Records Building," I said. "If we plug this into their public server, every news outlet gets the file simultaneously. No time to bury it." She looked at me like I'd just signed our death sentence. "That building's crawling with directorate security. So we don't go through the front door." We reached the records complex at 2:30 a.m., a monolith of glass and steel, quiet except for the rain. Security drones floated above the courtyard, red lights blinking through the fog. We slipped in through a maintenance bay. Inside, everything smelled of cold metal and ozone. I remembered the halls, the same design as Langley, the same polished emptiness. The directorate replicated its own paranoia everywhere it went. We reached the server room, rows of machines humming like distant thunder. Evelyn connected the drive. "Once I start the upload, they'll know exactly where we are," she said. "Good. Let them come." The screen filled with code, the progress bar crawled forward. 10%, 20, 40. Then the alarms began. The doors slammed open, armed agents flooding the corridor. Laser sights danced across the walls. "Drop your weapon, Reeves," a voice ordered. "It's over." I stepped in front of Evelyn. "You're right," I said. It was over, until the truth started uploading. 70%. They opened fire. Glass shattered, sparks flew. I returned 3 precise shots, buying seconds, maybe less. 95. Evelyn screamed. "It's done." The monitors flared white, the data streaming across secure lines into open networks worldwide. Every recorded order, every falsified report, every voice log, including the director's authorization of the strike. The lights died. Silence. When I opened my eyes, the server room was smoke and strobe lights. Evelyn knelt beside me, hands shaking. Blood on my shoulder, just a graze. Outside, sirens wailed. Real ones. Police, not directorate. Evelyn looked at me. "You did it." "No," I said softly. "We did." I handed her the last copy of the file. "Get it to the committee. Tell them everything." "What about you?" "I'll buy you time." She hesitated, tears mixing with rain. Then she ran. I turned back toward the servers, smoke curling through the air. Footsteps approached. Slow, deliberate. Director Cole stepped from the shadows, pistol in hand. "You always were a good soldier, Daniel," he said. "You just forgot who you were fighting for." "No," I replied. I finally remembered. He raised the gun. The fire alarm erupted. Sprinklers rained down like cold baptism. The lights flickered, and then from every monitor his own voice played back. Director Cole authorizing change of objective. Proceed with elimination. His face went pale. Outside, the world was already watching. Sometimes the only way to serve your country is to stand against the people who claim to protect it. And sometimes the truth isn't what saves you, it's what sets you free. Morning broke gray over the city. By the time the sun cut through the rain clouds, my name was already on every screen in America. Former intelligence officer exposes directorate scandal. They ran the headline for 36 straight hours. I watched it from a hospital bed, my arm bandaged, the smell of antiseptic thicker than the silence. 2 federal marshals stood outside my door. Not guards, witness protection. At least that's what they called it. Evelyn sat in a chair beside me, laptop balanced on her knees, eyes swollen from no sleep. You went viral, she said. Never thought that word would apply to treason, I answered. She smiled faintly. You didn't commit treason, Daniel. You stopped it. On the television, news anchors dissected every second of the leaked files. Cole was under arrest. Several senior officials had resigned. The directorate was now under full congressional review. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel anger. Just quiet. The nurse came in, checked my vitals, and whispered, "You did the right thing, sir." Simple words, but they hit harder than any medal ever had. 2 days later, the marshals moved us to a safe facility outside Quantico. Concrete walls, 1 window, government coffee. They called it temporary debrief. To me it felt like limbo. The agent in charge, a young man with honest eyes, started the recorder. "Mr. Reeves, can you confirm your statement that the director acted without authorization?" "I can confirm it, and now so can the world," I said. "What do you want out of this, sir?" I paused. I hadn't thought about that. Not really. "Just the truth on record," I finally said. "Nothing more." He nodded slowly. "You know, people are calling you a hero." "Heroes don't lose 6 men on a mission," I replied. "No," he said, "but they make sure the next 6 come home." That night I couldn't sleep. The facility hummed with generators. Rain pressed against the glass again. I opened the window a few inches and let the wind in. It smelled like the sea, the same cold breath from Pier 47. Evelyn joined me, arms folded against the chill. "They're offering you reinstatement," she said. "Under a new identity. Clean slate." I laughed softly. "I've had enough aliases for one lifetime." "Then what will you do?" I looked out into the dark horizon where dawn would soon break. "I'll disappear, but on my own terms this time. Somewhere quiet. Maybe teach. Maybe forget." "You won't forget," she said. "No," I admitted. "But maybe I'll finally stop running." 3 weeks later I was released. No ceremony. No headlines. Just a signed paper and a handshake that felt heavier than a goodbye. Evelyn stayed with the committee, helping rebuild what we'd broken open. Before I left, she handed me a sealed envelope. "For when you need to remember why," she said. Inside was a single photograph, our team, taken a week before Kandahar. All smiles, all alive. Someone had written on the back in her handwriting, "Truth is the mission that never ends." Voiceover slows, reflective, sound of wind and distant waves. I drove until the city lights disappeared behind me. Through Virginia's back roads, past the cabin where it all began, until the trees swallowed the noise of the world. I stopped at a cliff overlooking the bay. The same black water, calmer now. I dropped my service medal into the tide and watched it sink. It wasn't guilt anymore, it was release. They'll write reports, hold hearings, rewrite history until it fits inside a binder. But history never fits. It leaks through the cracks, carried by the people who refuse to forget. Somewhere, someone will hear this story and see a reflection of their own. A reminder that loyalty without truth is just fear in uniform. I don't know if I'm a hero. I'm not sure that word means anything anymore. But I do know this. When they accused me of betraying my country, what they really feared was that I'd remind the country what betrayal actually looks like. The mission's over. The truth is out. And for the first time in years, the silence doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like peace.